Honestly, I feel like at this point I have to speak up, and I'm normally not the one to do that. But lately, there's just been so many things that have been concerning me, that feel off to me, that don't feel in line with Word of Christ. If this can be a wake-up call or teach you one thing, that's enough for me. I don't want anything out of this video other than to just make people aware of what's going on. Alright, so for context, I asked ChatGPT to be an expert historian, break down what history has taught us when a country that was once a democracy switches into complete opposite. Fascism, dictatorship, authoritarian. I'm gonna keep it as simple as I can, referencing fact. Here are the 5 biggest warning signs that GPT populated. Number 1, courts and laws get weakened. Leaders use emergency powers. Controlling the news and building a hero persona, blaming outsiders or minorities, silencing anyone who speaks up. I'll give you one example per point, okay? 1930s Germany, Nazis said that judges were biased and they were enemies of the state, and then they swapped them out for Nazis or people that were conforming to Hitler. Venezuela, 1999. Chavez rewrote their constitution. It was solely so he could pass laws without having to ask the legislator, aka with us, Congress. That meant he could basically do almost anything without checks or balances. Mussolini, Italy, took over all the newspapers, so people only saw his side of the story. 1975 Cambodia with Khmer Rouge shut down every radio, TV, and paper. Everyone just heard one message coming from the Khmer Rouge. They literally had no idea. They were just being fed propaganda. I mean, we know about Germany, right? But in Cambodia, the Khmer Rouge blamed city people, intellectuals, professors, doctors as enemies of the state to justify violence and then diminish their credibility. North Korea, Kim Jong-un. If you are not in love with that man, you are ripped off the street, you never see your family again, and you are never seen again. Let's try to connect the dots with some of the things that we've been seeing since January 20th in the United States. Number 1, attacks on courts and the justice system. On June 4th, Trump signed an order requiring the Justice Department to investigate President Biden and his mental fitness without real evidence. If you're not aware, the Justice Department is not allowed to forgo any investigation without substantial evidence indicating that it's necessary. It basically paints the Department of Justice like a political weapon instead of an independent agency rooted in law and the Constitution. Number 2, executive orders that bypass Congress, the voice of the Constitution, and holding up the law. Day 1 in office, he pulled us out of the World Health Organization. In April, he issued an order to defund sanctuary cities that don't cooperate with federal immigration. Local governments rely on that money for schools, roads, hospitals. Threatening to cut their funding forces them to comply. Number 3, controlling media and science. So in May, the White House proposed zeroing out NPR and PBS budgets. Public radio and TV, American people trust for their fair news. If those outlets vanish, we lose big chunks of independent media and reporting. Roughly around March, federal scientists hid grants frozen by the Trump administration. Those scientists were reassigned if their research didn't fit the administrative goals. Some of these scientists were working on groundbreaking cancer research, so how does that make sense? Some of them were working on climate change. Now we're punishing experts for doing their jobs. Indicative that, to this administration, facts matter less than politics. The well-being of the whole matters less than the power of few. Scapegoating and fear-based rhetoric. In June, Trump expanded a travel ban to 12 countries, including Iran, Haiti, the Congo. He lumped entire populations together as threats, which is classic scapegoating, blaming whole groups of people rather than dealing with real problems. ICE has been raiding campuses, arresting international students off the street, peacefully protesting. They are getting deported. Essentially, comply or leave. And lastly, militarized policing and harassing protests. Federal agents have shown up at peaceful protests and instilled violence, which I believe that's what Trump is saying he's trying to get out of the country. The criminals, right? But isn't it a crime to elicit violence on someone that's not a threat or harming you? Most importantly is the behavior that citizens have historically adopted when these types of transitions start happening. If any of these resonate, let me know. Normalizing violence or intimidation, believing and spreading wild conspiracy theories, extreme us versus them thinking, self-censorship and fear of speaking up, apathy and it can't happen here mentality. If you see people start shrugging at unmarked agents, grabbing people off the street, or grabbing protesters, that's warning number 1. Friends and family share crazy claims like the government is building secret camps for people and no one bothers to fact check. That's a breakdown in shared reality. If you hear people say you're either 100% with us or you're the enemy, that shows how polarized we've become. We can't even compromise. It's betrayal now. If people stop talking about big issues like free speech being eroded because they're scared of being canceled or attacked online, that's a red flag. And lastly, if you start seeing people scrolling past news of civil liberties literally being stripped away from their neighbors, taking the excuse of, it's not happening to me. They haven't witnessed it firsthand, so therefore it must not be happening. That apathy lets that disconnect continue to grow. Okay, so why am I talking about all of this? Because democracies do not end overnight. They unravel piece by piece, but if we spot these warning signs early, we can actually do something while our democracy still exists. So here are simple steps you can take to not just be complacent, to not just sit there while our friends, family, neighbors, brothers, sisters, it's everybody's first time on planet Earth. There's absolutely no reason why we should be this divided in what was once considered the greatest country in the world. Stay informed from multiple sources. Listen to different news outlets, NPR, PBS, ProPublica, local paper. I learned this in college. Media outlets intentionally frame their messaging to the audience that watches them most because they only make money through viewership. The more viewpoints you hear, the closer you get to the truth, the more you see the full picture. Speak up, talk to others, vote. Use your vote while you still have one. If you're under 18, bring this up with adults, your parents, older siblings, anyone. Tell them why these issues matter. If you're 18 or older, register to vote and make sure you show up. Voting is how we decide who holds power. Support independent media and science. Even a small donation, public radio, nonprofit news organizations, or science groups helps keep factual reporting, progressive and important research alive. Research that could help cure a family member that has an ailment, that has a disease. Join or back civil rights and community groups. These are the groups that are facing the oppression, the prejudice. As a white female, it is my responsibility, knowing the privilege that I have in this country, to advocate for fellow Americans, my neighbors, that are being punished for something they never had control over deciding. I mean, hell, I didn't get to decide what color skin I have. I didn't get to decide where I was born. Organizations like the NAACP, ACLU, or local immigrant rights groups need volunteers, they need donations, they need advocacy. By helping them, you're defending people who may be unfairly targeted. Protest peacefully if you can, if you're able. If you're upset about a new policy or an executive order, if you're upset about Gaza, about the overturned order grant emergency surgeries to mothers whose lives are at risk, and it's between them or the baby. I don't have that decision anymore. Because this really should not be such a polarizing conversation. We're all human. Do unto others as you would want to be done unto you. Thanks for sticking with me through this, if you're still here. History repeats itself. The definition of insanity is literally doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. It just doesn't happen. We can't continue ignoring these warning signs. Democracy can erode just as quickly as it was established, but each of us have the power to speak up right now. We have the freedom right now to stay informed. We still have the ability to push back. I feel like God has just been telling me, like, you literally still have a voice, use it. I'm not attempting to get anything out of this. There's no objective with this aside from the fact this is so important to me. This should be important to everyone in this country right now that still has the freedom to choose certain things. Don't stay ignorant. We die in complacency. Keep talking. My brothers and sisters, neighbors, I love you. I stand with all of you. So, God bless.